The rise and fall of Silk Road is one of the most gripping stories of the internet age. Spearheaded by Ross Ulbricht, the dark web marketplace redefined the way illegal goods and services were traded, using Bitcoin to enable anonymity. However, as Silk Road flourished, it also attracted the attention of law enforcement, culminating in Ross's arrest and the seizure of massive Bitcoin holdings. Yet, even after the marketplace was dismantled, the saga continued. A stunning twist came years later, when law enforcement discovered that a staggering $3.6 billion worth of Bitcoin tied to Silk Road had been stolen, and traced the theft back to a single man, Jimmy Zhong. Ross Ulbricht was no ordinary criminal. Born in 1984 in Austin, Texas, Ross was a brilliant, idealistic student with a passion for libertarian philosophy. He studied physics at the University of Texas and later pursued a master's degree in material science at Penn State. But Ross grew increasingly disillusioned with the centralized power of governments and corporations. He believed in the free market and envisioned a world where people could trade without interference. Ross's libertarian ideals, combined with his knowledge of technology, inspired him to create Silk Road. Launched in 2011, Silk Road was an online marketplace accessible only through the Tor network, providing anonymity to its users. Payments were made exclusively in Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency that was still relatively obscure but offered the pseudonymity needed for illegal transactions. Silk Road quickly became a haven for buyers and sellers of illegal goods, particularly drugs. Users praised its sleek design and the protections it offered against scams and law enforcement. Within months, Silk Road was generating millions of dollars in Bitcoin transactions, and Ross, operating under the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, became the dark web's most infamous figure. But the success of Silk Road came at a cost. The site's notoriety attracted the attention of law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, DEA, and IRS. Ross Ulbricht envisioned Silk Road as more than just a marketplace. It was a digital utopia where individuals could trade freely, unfettered by government regulations or corporate oversight. Using his expertise in programming, he developed the platform's infrastructure and embedded Tor for anonymity. To ensure secure payments, Ross integrated Bitcoin, which was gaining traction as a decentralized currency. In the beginning, Silk Road operated quietly. Sellers and buyers exchanged small amounts of goods, mostly personal use drugs. Ross meticulously managed the site, moderating disputes, enforcing rules, and even providing customer support. His alter ego, Dread Pirate Roberts, DPR, became a legend, known for his charisma and ironclad commitment to privacy. Word of Silk Road spread quickly. By 2012, it had become the go-to platform for illegal trade, boasting thousands of listings for drugs, fake IDs, hacking tools, and other contraband. The site was lauded for its review system, which mimicked legitimate e-commerce platforms. Buyers left ratings for sellers, ensuring a level of trust in an otherwise lawless domain. The platform's success was staggering. At its peak, Silk Road facilitated over $1 billion in transactions annually, with Ross earning millions in commissions. Yet, for all his brilliance, Ross was deeply flawed. He operated under the belief that his technical safeguards rendered him untouchable. The unprecedented scale of Silk Road's operations didn't go unnoticed. Federal agencies began scrutinizing the dark web and Bitcoin transactions, determined to uncover the mastermind behind the marketplace. Their efforts intensified as media coverage brought Silk Road into the public eye, sparking debates about privacy, crime, and the ethics of free markets. The hunt for Dread Pirate Roberts became one of the most complex investigations in cybercrime history. Ross's reliance on Bitcoin, once thought to be untraceable, became a critical vulnerability. Investigators collaborated with blockchain analysts to trace Bitcoin flows linked to Silk Road. An unsecured email address. Ross used his personal email address in an early forum post promoting Silk Road. This was a critical error that provided investigators with their first clue. Honeypot servers. Law enforcement agents posed as vendors on Silk Road, infiltrating the marketplace and gathering data from within. Metadata in forums. Posts by Dread Pirate Roberts on public forums revealed patterns that investigators matched to Ross's known activities and locations. Ross's arrest. On October 1, 2013, Ross was arrested in a dramatic sting operation at a public library in San Francisco. FBI agents caught him logged into his Silk Road admin account, preventing him from encrypting or destroying evidence. Seized from his laptop were chat logs, private keys to Bitcoin wallets, and detailed records of Silk Road's operations. Hey guys, if you've enjoyed this video to this point, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. These videos take quite a lot of time to make, so if you could help me out, I'll love you forever. On this channel I upload videos about ethical hacking and hacking documentaries like famous hacks, hackers and groups, criminal hacking, and many more. Now let's get back to this crazy story. Jimmy Zhong wasn't a typical hacker. Born in the US and raised in Georgia, he wasn't running with cybercriminal groups. He was a lone wolf, a computer nerd with an eye for details. He studied computer science at the University of Georgia but dropped out. He had early access to Bitcoin and an understanding of how systems work. But more importantly, he understood how they break. In September 2012, Zhong discovered a vulnerability in Silk Road's withdrawal mechanism. It was simple but brilliant. When he withdrew Bitcoin from his account, the system didn't update balances fast enough. So he set up multiple withdrawals in rapid succession. Each request processed before the system could register the new balance. It wasn't hacking. It was exploiting a race condition. He repeated this technique with multiple accounts, over and over again. By the time he was done, he had drained over 50,000 Bitcoins. At the time, those coins were worth about $600,000. Today, over $3 billion. After the heist, Jimmy Zhong disappeared from the radar. He didn't flaunt his wealth. He didn't make crazy purchases. He played it smart. He used mixing services to obscure his transactions. He stored his keys on secure drives. And as Bitcoin prices soared, he sat silently on a fortune. By 2021, his holdings were worth more than $3 billion. And yet, his name still hadn't come up in any investigation. But all of that changed with one careless mistake. In 2019, Zhong reported that some of his Bitcoins had been stolen in a different scam. He contacted the police, a move that surprised everyone. He had been off the grid for years, and now he voluntarily walked back into the light. The report triggered suspicion. IRS criminal investigators began to look into his claims. The blockchain doesn't forget. They followed the digital breadcrumbs. In 2021, they raided Zhong's home in Gainesville, Georgia. What they found was shocking. Agents discovered a treasure trove. Hidden in a bathroom closet under blankets inside a popcorn tin was a single-board computer. It contained private keys to Bitcoin wallets holding the stolen coins. In total, they recovered over 50,000 Bitcoins. At the time of seizure in 2022, the stash was worth $3.36 billion. It became one of the largest crypto seizures in US history. The story made headlines, not just because of the amount, but because no one had even noticed the theft a decade earlier. Zhong pleaded guilty to one count of wire fraud. He cooperated with investigators and reportedly handed over all remaining assets. But here's the twist. Despite stealing billions, Zhong was sentenced to just 1 year and 1 day in prison. The judge acknowledged his cooperation and lack of previous criminal activity. Some believe he gave up valuable intelligence about others in the dark web ecosystem. Others think the government simply wanted the Bitcoin back without dragging things out. The Jimmy Zhong story is more than just a heist. It highlights the early vulnerabilities of the Bitcoin economy. It shows how simple coding errors can be exploited for billions. It also reflects on the US government's increasing capabilities in tracing cryptocurrency and recovering stolen assets. No longer is Bitcoin truly untraceable. And it reopens questions about Ross Ulbricht, who is serving a double life sentence while someone who stole from him walks free after just a year. Justice in the digital age is complicated. Jimmy Zhong walked the line between genius and criminal. He didn't use force or threats. He used timing, code, and silence. And for almost a decade, he lived with a secret worth billions. This was the quietest and one of the most successful digital thefts in history. Let me know in the comments. Was Zhong a villain? Or just smarter than the system? Subscribe for more true cybercrime documentaries. And remember, every system has a flaw.